Korea will reveal the new location for the U.S. missile defense system known as THAAD this afternoon after the original choice was rejected by local residents. A parliamentary audit enters its fifth day today with no clear results. The ruling party seeks a breakthrough by proposing a meeting with the opposition parties. At least one person has died and 100 have been injured after a train crashed into a station in the U.S. state of New Jersey. These and more coming right up.
Hello, it's Friday, September 30th here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. The South Korean government will officially announce the new location of the THAAD U.S. missile defense system this afternoon. In a text message Thursday, Seoul's defense ministry said it will release the evaluation results of 3 possible candidate locations to host THAAD at 2:30 p.m. on Friday. Most experts say THAAD will most likely be deployed at the Lotte Sky Hill Country Club in Seongju, Gyeongsang-buk-do Province, as it's the most suitable of the 3 candidate sites. Seoul and Washington had earlier picked another site, but residents demanded it be moved to a more remote area, citing health concerns about THAAD's radar system. That is expected to be deployed by the end of next year to better protect South Korea from North Korea's missile and nuclear threats. Russia has expressed its support for swift and additional UN sanctions against North Korea in response to the regime's recent nuclear test. South Korea's Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, Kim Hong-kyun, made the remark after meeting with Igor Morgulov, Russia's Deputy Minister for the Asia-Pacific region, on Thursday. Speaking to reporters in Moscow, Kim quoted his counterpart as saying that Russia will actively take part in discussions for a stronger UN Security Council resolution. Morgulov reportedly shared the view that it's crucial to faithfully implement the current sanctions against Pyongyang. The Russian official also reaffirmed that Moscow will not accept North Korea as a nuclear power. The South Korean envoy's meeting wraps up his latest discussions with his counterparts from the U.S., Japan, and Russia following the North's 5th nuclear test. A new ultra-high-tech facility is set to open in the southern city of Pohang next spring. This 4th-generation synchrotron facility will enable scientists to perform research that could open up futuristic new industries. President Park Geun-hye was there for the founding ceremony, and our Song Ji-sun takes us there.
Korea has become only the 3rd country in the world to have a 4th-generation light source facility after the United States and Japan. The accelerator enables observation of living cells and protein analysis for medical research using light that's 8 quintillion times stronger than sunlight and moves in 1/15th of a second. Speaking at the launching ceremony, President Park Geun-hye encouraged scientists to take a leading role in new industries through advanced technologies.
4세대 방사능 가속기는 광합성과 화학 반응을 비롯해서 그동안 인류가 풀지 못한 우주와 생명의 비밀을 푸는 열쇠이자 미래 신산업 선점의 필수적인 핵심 인프라입니다. 포항에서 만들어질 꿈의 빛이 대한민국 과학기술의 미래는 물론 인류의 미래를 환히 밝힐 수 있기를 기대합니다.
The president also took a tour of Pohang's National Innovation Center, the only branch to be led by the private sector, to look in on the startups launched and incubated there.
Our business is a clean energy project processing flame-retarding waste through high-temperature combustion, while also minimizing toxic gas emission. Our technologies gained greater momentum with the support of POSCO here at the Innovation Center.
이런 폐기물을 활용한 신재생 에너지 사업 같은 거는 앞으로 참 시장이 넓을 거고 우리나라는 물론이고요. 꼭 필요한 사업이고 또 해외에서 또 수요가 많을 것 같아서 앞으로 크게 발전하실 수 있을 거라고 기대가 됩니다.
President Park called on the scientists to become leaders and not followers and said that the nation will provide full support for new tech industries to evolve into new growth engines to boost local economies and create jobs. 송지선, Arirang News.
Frustration is building at Korea's National Assembly as its audit was held up for a fourth straight day on Thursday. The main and opposition parties are continuing to lock horns over who is responsible for the ongoing standoff. Ji Myung-gil reports.
The ruling Sanctions Party said Thursday it is more than determined to make Assembly Speaker Chung Se-kyun resign, with its floor leader vowing to continue a relay hunger strike started by the chairman earlier this week.
Our party will continue the protest against the speaker. Also, we can't let party chair Lee Jung-hyun deal with the hunger strike alone. We will join him too.
The party also held a rally in parliament to demand Chung's resignation and sought legal action against him. The party accuses Chung of violating parliamentary law by calling a vote last week on a dismissal motion for the agriculture minister past a midnight deadline and in spite of a Sanctions Party protest. It asked the Constitutional Court to rule on whether Chung violated parliamentary law. The party has also asked prosecutors to charge Chung with abusing his authority as speaker. Although the party is in the midst of a boycott, ruling party lawmaker Kim Young-woo, who heads the Defense Committee, chaired the audit session, saying that there is no ruling or opposition party when it comes to national defense. The other Sanctions Party lawmakers on the committee declined to participate in the audit session. Meanwhile, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea called for an end to the boycott.
We urge the ruling party to rejoin the parliamentary audit as soon as possible. The Minju Party will wait, but we cannot wait forever.
The minor opposition People's Party criticized the ruling party for prolonging the political confrontation and said it will hold the ruling party accountable for neglecting people's livelihoods. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
And in a bid to break the impasse at the National Assembly, the floor leader of the ruling Sanctions Party has called for a meeting with his counterparts from the main and minor opposition parties. In a phone interview with Yonhap News Agency, Chung Jin-seok said he was proposing the meeting for Friday morning as a way to end the deadlock by implementing measures that will ensure the political neutrality of the Assembly Speaker. Insisting the ruling party wants to resolve the issue, Chung stressed that the parties can learn a valuable lesson from the impasse, and it should not be viewed as another example of a paralyzed parliament. Chung says the law needs to be revised to clearly govern the political neutrality of the Speaker. Korea's biggest sales festival has kicked off. Department stores, retail outlets, and traditional markets are offering hefty discounts to their local and foreign customers. But that's not all. A number of cultural and entertainment events are planned to attract even more shoppers. Kim Min-ji reports.
Fueling domestic consumption and luring foreign tourists. That's the aim of the country's largest sales event of the year, the Korea Sale Festa. And as the name implies, it is a festival of eye-catching deals on products that range from clothes, accessories, and cosmetics to home appliances and even cars.
Roughly 250 companies are taking part in the Sales Festival, and that's more than double the number at last year's sales event. And they're offering big bargains in hopes of enticing as many customers as possible.
I heard about the sales event on the news yesterday. I was able to buy good articles with discounts of up to 70%. I think this event needs to be held more frequently.
Moreover, this year's event features giants in home appliances such as Samsung Electronics as well as automakers for the first time. Discounts of more than 50% have been placed on certain refrigerators and television sets, while consumers buying cars can get up to 10% off the original price. The usual participants, namely department stores, supermarkets, and duty-free chains, aren't losing out on the opportunity either, holding promotional events and offering bargains of their own.
We've included more items in our sales lineup this year, such as jewelry and cosmetics. Consumers will be able to get between 20% and 30% off popular brands.
However, when the event took place last year, known as the Korea Black Friday back then, it wasn't free from criticism. Although it's estimated to have lifted last year's fourth quarter private spending by 0.2 percentage points, many consumers expressed their disappointment, saying the event didn't stand out from other regular sales events, as it didn't include designer brands nor newly released products.
Unlike last year, the government promoted the Korea Sale Festa weeks in advance, so it may have a bigger impact this year. But generally, the impact of sales events is limited. Besides, the government's corporate restructuring drive and new anti-corruption law could offset the effects.
Experts add the event needs to be held at a more consistent time frame in order to familiarize consumers with the festival and provide retailers the chance to roll out bigger and better deals. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
In the United States, at least one person is dead and more than 100 injured, some of them seriously after a commuter train crashed into a station in New Jersey, situated just across the river from New York. Witnesses say the morning rush hour train never slowed down before it smashed into a concrete barrier at the end of the track and plowed into Hoboken Station. The governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, says the engineer in the train crash was seriously hurt but is well enough to cooperate with the investigation. Pressed on why the accident happened, Christie said it was too early to speculate. He said the only thing known for now is that the train came in at too much high speed. A North Korean soldier has defected to the south yesterday by crossing the land border between the two Koreas. That military personnel is in custody. Kim Hyun-bin tells us more.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said Thursday that a North Korean soldier crossed over the military demarcation line at around 10 a.m. It is the first time since June of last year that a North Korean soldier has defected in this way. The military said that a South Korean soldier on guard at a general outpost first spotted the soldier at 10:03 a.m. At 10:12 a.m., the soldier was escorted by South Korean troops to base. The soldier was unarmed and there were no clashes in the process. The military is currently questioning him about his reasons for defecting. The South Korean military says that there are no unusual movements north of the border so far. However, South Korean military bases on the border have strengthened their security and surveillance activities. Since 2010, 60 North Korean civilians and military personnel have crossed the border either by land or by sea, using the military demarcation line or the maritime northern limit line. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
We've been taking a look at Korea-UK relations all this week as Arirang TV launched on British satellite services on Tuesday. One of the closest links between the countries is the Korean War. After the U.S., Britain sent the second largest number of allied troops to help the South during the war, but unfortunately, the Korean War is not that commonly known in the UK. Our Kwon Jang-woo, who's in London, had the chance to meet with some of the British heroes that came to South Korea's aid at its time of greatest need. Let's take a look.
The UK provided the second largest number of troops to the United Nations forces during the Korean War, sending over 80,000 soldiers. But it was also the ally with the second highest death toll at 1,106. And yet in Britain, that conflict is often referred to as the Forgotten War, coming so soon after two world wars.
The public had been fed up with war itself. There wasn't the television coverage or the media coverage like there is nowadays.
Sergeant Alan Guy served in the Royal Army Medical Corps, and he arrived in Korea in 1952, where he spent the next 20 months providing medical assistance to his fellow soldiers. But when he returned home, he found few who cared.
Arrived in the middle of the night, there was nobody there to greet me. I went to the local, there were no buses. I lived 5 miles from the railway station. I went to the local police station and said, "Can you help me to get home?" And they said, "No, you're a soldier, walk."
Lance Corporal Michael Griffin was a machine gunner for the Royal Norfolk Regiment, and he experienced a similar homecoming.
Nobody knew a lot about the Korean War. There was a little bit in the newspapers, but it was such a long way off.
Both were humble young soldiers, and the lack of recognition didn't concern them much at the time. But as the years went by, it became more disconcerting.
It was the memorial that really upset me, that we hadn't got our government hadn't produced a memorial. I don't think they realised that we killed more people than the whole of the Iraq, Afghanistan and Falkland War put together.
Sergeant Guy and members of the British Korean Veterans Association campaigned for the construction of a public memorial in London. But it was only with the help of the Korean government, which offered to fund the project, that it finally became a reality. This monument was erected in 2014, 61 years after the end of the Korean War. London was the last capital city to establish such a memorial among the 16 Allied nations that had fought in the war under the UN flag. The monument was also a symbol of Korea's continued recognition of the service and sacrifice that British troops had made. And for Sergeant Guy and Lance Corporal Griffin, a confirmation that their efforts had not been in vain. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News, London.
And that wraps up our newscast. I'll be back with more updates in less than 2 hours from now, so stay tuned and goodbye for now.